I'm 96 years old, and I'm about to tell you a truth I've kept hidden for 15 years, a truth that nobody in my family knows. Pause. People think I'm here, in this nursing home, because I'm old, or weak, or maybe because my mind has finally failed me. But the truth? The truth is far heavier than that. I'm here because my own children believe I lost our life savings, because they think I was scammed, or that I lost my mind, $250,000. They believe that money is gone, that I was tricked, that I failed. But I didn't lose anything. I knew exactly where every single dollar went. Every dollar. I spent deliberately to save someone in this family, and the person I saved is the reason I'm sitting in this small room today. I married my wife Margaret in 1954. I was 24. She was 21. We had nothing. A tiny rented apartment above a hardware store in Cleveland. One window. A radiator that only worked when it felt like it. And yet, we were happy. Truly happy. I worked at the steel mill for 44 years. Furnace operator. Dangerous work. Hot, grueling work that took a little piece of my body every single year. But it paid enough to survive. Enough to build a life. And Margaret and I had a deal. The same deal we made the week we got married. Every paycheck, no matter how small, we saved something. No matter how tight things were, something went into savings, because we knew, one day, it would all matter. We raised 5 children in a house I bought in 1960, David 1957, Linda 1959, Robert 1961, Janet 1964, and Stephen 1967. 5 kids, 1 bathroom, chaos. Beautiful, loud, exhausting chaos. I wasn't perfect. I came home every day smelling of the furnace. I didn't always have the patience I should have, but I was there. Every dinner, every Sunday, every Christmas morning. I was there. By 2004, Margaret and I had saved $310,000. 50 years of discipline, 50 years of brown bag lunches, second-hand clothes. We can't afford that, we said again and again until it became a reflex. That money, it wasn't just numbers. It was our life, our retirement, our dignity, proof that we had done something right. And then the call came. Pause. It was a Tuesday night in March 2004. Margaret was already in bed. The phone rang at 11 p.m. Nothing good ever comes from a phone call at 11 p.m. It was David, my oldest son, crying. I had never heard him cry, not since he was a boy. "Dad, I need your help," he said. "Danny's in trouble." Danny, my grandson, David's boy, 22 years old, smart, funny. The one who used to sit on my lap and ask me stories about the steel mill. The one who called me Pop instead of Grandpa, because Grandpa sounded too old. Danny had been arrested, drug distribution, not using, selling. He got mixed up with people he shouldn't have, owed money to people he shouldn't owe, and got caught in a world too big for him. One mistake led to another. And now he was facing 12 years in federal prison. 12 years. Danny would be 34 when he got out. His life basically over before it even began. David was desperate. He had found the best criminal defense attorney in the state, but the retainer alone was $80,000. The full case, maybe $200,000. David didn't have it. He had just been laid off. His wife didn't even know Danny was arrested. He was trying to handle it quietly, keep it contained, before anyone else found out. And then he said it. "Dad, I need $250,000. I know it's everything. I know what I'm asking, but it's Danny. He's my son, your grandson. They'll destroy him in there." I sat in my kitchen and stared at the phone. 50 years of saving, 50 years of sacrifice, every paycheck, every holiday we didn't take, everything we went without. And I thought of Danny, sitting on my lap at 6 years old, saying, "Tell me another story, Pop." I said, "Yes." Margaret knew. I told her that night. She cried. Not for the money, for Danny. "You save that boy, Arthur. The money doesn't matter. Save our grandson. And I did. I wrote the checks. I hired the lawyer. Over the next 14 months, I spent $247,000, every penny, every single dollar. The lawyer was worth it. Danny's charges were reduced. Instead of 12 years in federal prison, he got 18 months in a state facility, sealed record, a second chance. David made me promise. Dad, nobody can ever know about this. Not Linda, not Robert, not Janet, not Stephen, not Carol. If anyone finds out, Danny's finished. Even with a sealed record, if the family knows, if people talk, it follows him. Promise me, Dad. I promised. What else could I do? He was my son. Danny was my grandson. You protect your family. That's what you do. Danny served his 18 months. He got clean, got out. Now he's 42 years old, married, 2 kids, working as an electrician. A good man. Honest. The kind of man you'd be proud of. No one knows what he was. No one knows what I paid to give him that chance. And that's how it should be. But here's where it all fell apart. Margaret died in 2007. Brain aneurysm. She was hanging laundry on a Tuesday morning and just collapsed. Gone before the ambulance arrived. 52 years of marriage ended between the bed sheets and pillowcases. No warning. No goodbye. After the funeral, my children started asking questions. That's what families do. They assess, they plan, they look at numbers. And the numbers didn't add up. $310,000 should have been in savings. They found $58,000. Where was the rest? David knew. He was sitting right there at the kitchen table when Robert asked. Sitting there when Linda said, Dad, where's the money? Sitting there when Janet started crying and Stephen said, something must be wrong. David said nothing. He looked at me. I looked at him. And I watched my oldest son make a choice. He chose himself. He chose silence. He chose to let his father take the blame rather than admit what happened to his son. I told them the money was spent on personal things. I didn't elaborate. I couldn't. I had made a promise. Even as I watched David sit there like a coward, I thought of Danny, of his wife, of his 2 little kids, of that sealed record. That would mean nothing if the family started asking questions, so I stayed quiet. The story that spread? Dad got scammed. Dad's getting old. Dad can't manage his affairs anymore. Easier to believe than the truth. That I had spent every penny deliberately to save a life. Nobody wanted to follow that road, except David. Because David didn't need to go down that road. He was already there. Robert suggested power of attorney. Linda agreed. Janet worried about me living alone, especially after a small stroke I had in 2006 that affected my left side. She was right about that part. I did need help. My mobility wasn't what it used to be. I couldn't manage the house alone. But the help I got wasn't what I needed. It was what was convenient. Linda said I could stay with her. I did for about 5 months. But her husband, Gerald, made it clear I was a burden. He'd sigh when I needed help in the bathroom, leave the room, make comments about privacy. One night I heard him tell Linda, "It's me or your father. I can't do this anymore." I left the next morning. Told Linda I found somewhere better. I didn't want to break her marriage. Robert was going through his own divorce, barely able to take care of himself. Janet lived in Arizona. Stephen had 3 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. No room. Not for a 79-year-old man with a bad left side and no savings. And David, the one with a big house, a spare bedroom, the one who owed me $250,000 and his son's freedom. David said, "I think Dad needs professional care somewhere with nurses, somewhere equipped." Professional care, that's what he called it. I call it what it is. He put me away. The son I saved put me in a box and closed the lid. I moved into Meadowbrook Senior Living in October 2009, room 12, single bed, small closet, a window looking out at a parking lot. I've been here for 15 years. David doesn't visit, not once. I think looking at me reminds him of what he did. It's easier to forget your father than face what you owe him. Linda calls every few weeks, short calls. How are you, Dad? Fine. Need anything? No? She sends a card on my birthday. She means well. She just doesn't know. Robert passed away in 2018. Heart attack. 67 years old. Another child gone before me. There's no word for a parent who outlives their children. There should be. Janet visits once a year, brings flowers, sits with me for an hour, tells me about her grandchildren. She's kind, but there's always something in her eyes. Pity. Like she's visiting a man who lost his mind. I didn't lose my mind. I lost my savings, my house, my family, and I did it on purpose. I did it to save a 22-year-old boy who called me Pop. Danny served his 18 months. He got clean, got out. Today he's 42, married, has 2 kids, works as an electrician, a good man. Honest. The kind of man any grandfather would be proud of. No one in the family knows what he was. No one knows what I paid to give him a second chance. And that's how it should be. But here's the cruel part. After saving Danny, everything else fell apart. Room 12. My small window. My single bed. 15 years. And counting. David never visits. Not once in all that time. I think looking at me reminds him of the secret he can't admit, of the debt he owes. It's easier to forget your father than face what you did. Linda calls every few weeks, short calls. How are you, Dad? Fine. Need anything? No. She sends a card on my birthday. She means well, but she doesn't know. Robert passed in 2018. Heart attack. 67 years old. Another child gone before me. There's no word for a parent who outlives their children. There should be. Janet visits once a year. She flies in from Arizona, brings flowers, sits with me, tells me about her grandchildren. She's kind, but there's always something in her eyes. Pity, like she's visiting a man who lost his mind. I didn't lose my mind. I lost my savings, my house, my family. And I did it deliberately. I did it to save a 22-year-old boy who called me Pop. Stephen calls on Christmas sometimes. Danny visits once a year. He brings his wife, his 2 little daughters. They call me Great Pop. He sits with me while the girls play in the common room, holds my hand sometimes. And every time before he leaves, he leans close and whispers, "Thank you, Pop, for everything." But Danny doesn't know. He doesn't know his father put me here. He doesn't know his aunts and uncles think I'm senile. He doesn't know the $247,000 I spent to save his life is the reason I live in a room with a single bed and a window facing a parking lot. Danny thinks I'm here because I'm old, because I need care. David told him that. David has an answer for everyone, except me. I have a letter in my drawer from the lawyer. It confirms every payment, every date, every amount. Danny's case number. I could show it to Linda, mail it to Janet, clear my name in 5 minutes. But the letter has Danny's name on it. If I show it, his sealed record means nothing. His wife finds out. His employer finds out. His daughters grow up knowing their father was a drug dealer at 22. Everything I sacrificed, everything I saved, everything I gave, unravels. So the letter stays in the drawer, and I stay in room 12. I've been alive for 310 days. I've spent 5,475 of them in this room. Every morning I wake up and think about that phone call. David crying at 11 p.m. "Dad, I need your help." I helped, and this is where it got me. Some nights I get angry. Not at Danny. Never at Danny. He was a kid who made a mistake. He deserved a second chance. He's earned that chance 100 times over. I get angry at David, the son I taught to ride a bike, the one I walked to school, the one who looked me in the eye while his siblings accused me of losing my mind and said nothing. He said nothing, and that nothing put me here. But even the anger fades. You can't stay angry for 15 years. The body doesn't have the energy. And the truth is, underneath the anger, there's something worse. There's love. I still love him. I still love David. And I hate that I do, because loving someone who betrayed you is the loneliest feeling in the world. I'm 96 years old. Maybe I have a year left, maybe 2. Parkinson's is getting worse. My left hand doesn't work anymore. My legs aren't reliable. But my mind has always been clear. I wasn't scammed. I wasn't confused. I made a choice, the same choice any grandfather would make. I chose Danny, and if I had to do it again, even knowing I'd end up here, even knowing David would betray me, even knowing I'd spend 15 years alone in room 12, I'd do it again. Because Danny's alive. Danny's free. Danny's daughters call me Great Pop. Bring me drawings. Ask me to tell stories. That's worth $247,000. That's worth a house. That's worth 15 years in a single room with a window facing a parking lot. What I can't forgive is the silence, not the money. David's silence, the lie he let everyone believe, the father he threw away to protect himself. I didn't throw Danny away. I saved him, at the cost of everything. And I'd do it again tomorrow. Room 12. 15 years? I just wish David would come just once to say he's sorry, to sit and admit what he did. But he won't, because admitting means facing it. And David was never good at facing things. That's okay. I faced enough for both of us. 15 years in room 12. And every single day, I wake up with the same thoughts. I think about that phone call. David crying at 11 p.m., desperate, saying, "Dad, I need your help." I think about Danny sitting on my lap at 6 years old, wide-eyed, begging for one more story. And I think about the choice I made. Yes, I lost my savings. Yes, I lost my home. Yes, I lost my family's trust, but I saved a life, a boy, my grandson. And if you ask me, I would do it all over again. Some people measure a life in wealth, in numbers, in things. I measure mine in moments, in choices, in who lives because I chose to act. I made the choice every grandfather would make, every parent would make if they had the courage. I chose love over comfort. I chose life over security. The silence of my children, David's betrayal, the years alone. It hurts, but it also reminds me, love sometimes costs more than you can imagine. Sometimes it demands everything you have and everything you are. Danny is alive. Danny's daughters call me Great Pop. They laugh, they draw, they ask for stories. Every drawing, every hug, every whispered "thank you, Pop" reminds me. It was worth it. And even in the quiet, in this small room, I feel peace. Not because the world recognized my sacrifice, but because the life I saved lives on. I've spent 15 years in this room, and maybe I have only a few more, but I will leave knowing I did the right thing. I chose family over judgment. I chose life over fear. I chose love, even when it hurt more than anything else. That's the legacy I leave. Not money, not property, not approval, but the life of a boy I saved, and the lessons of courage, love, and sacrifice that survive in him and his children. Room 12. 15 years. A life measured not in dollars, but in hearts saved. And if I had to do it all over again, I would. And now, here I am. Room 12. 15 years. Alone, yet surrounded by the life I saved. Danny doesn't know what I endured. He doesn't know his father put me here. He doesn't know his aunts and uncles think I've lost my mind. He doesn't know the $247,000 I spent was to give him a second chance at life. And that's okay. That's how it should be. Some might call it foolishness. Some might call it sacrifice. I call it love. Love is messy. Love is costly. Love sometimes means losing everything, so someone else can live. If you're watching this, remember this. The true measure of a life is not in what you hold, but in who you save, who you protect, and the choices you make. Even when the world misunderstands you. I've made peace with my choices. I've made peace with room 12. And I've made peace knowing Danny lives a good life, free, happy, loved. So to everyone out there, value your family. Protect those who can't protect themselves. And when it comes to love, sometimes the hardest choice is the right one. Thank you for letting me tell my story. If it touched you, if it moved you, if it made you think, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, because maybe, just maybe, it will inspire someone to make the hard choice, the right choice, the choice that changes a life forever. Room 12. 15 years. A lifetime of sacrifice for love.